Go figure. I ain't touched a grease gun in 2 months. Give it 3 pumps and she's out of grease. Never fails. My, how time flies. It seems like just yesterday we was taking all these tips off, winterizing the sprayer, getting it cleaned up and parking it under the shed, and here it is, already time to get it back out and go to the field. Man, where does the winter go? But yep, that's right. It's first part of February. We've been wet, cold, and frozen, and it is time to get some fertilizer on our wheat because it is hungry. And if we don't get some fertilizer on our wheat crop soon, our yield prospects are going to go in the tank real quickly. All right, Kelly, well, I'm doing all the hard work here. You want to show everybody what we got today, what we brought home?
While you're doing all the hard work, who brought the sprayer? That would be me. Who had to watch the poor animals come out of the exhaust? That would be me. Who's been back and forth to the house twice because you've asked for stuff.
Anyway, you want to show everybody what you brought home today? Get it, they can't see you, Kelly.
We are no longer the Griggs. We are just known as Matt and Kelly now from now on. We've gone to 2 names like Madonna and Prince.
We're the farmers formerly known as the Griggses.
We're the farmers formerly known as the Griggses. Now we're just Matt and Kelly. Like, seriously.
Yeah, we brought home the first place yield contest winner for soybeans for our district, the southwest part of Tennessee, 91.5 bushels an acre. So if y'all remember back from harvest, when we're cutting soybeans, we did our yield plots, and we wound up bringing home the trophy, the plaque.
The plaque with just Matt and Kelly on it, formerly known as Griggs Farms.
We did not win the state. The winner for the state came from out there, East Tennessee. I think they had a little bit better weather than what we did, maybe a little bit more rain, but mighty proud to bring this home. And we might not have won the overall state yield contest, but I guarantee you with our low inputs, we probably won the profit contest, but there's no official contest for that.
There should be.
So, anyway, we're gonna finish putting on the rest of our fertilizer tips for wheat and load up some fertilizer, go to the field. Ooh, man, look at this nice, pretty clean cab that Andy got cleaned up. She is looking nice. Unfortunately, it probably won't remain that way for long. All right, on every load here, we're going to throw in 1 gallon, 20 ounces of this lambdicide for insecticide. And we're trying to, while we're streaming our fertilizer, enough of the fertilizer gets on the plant, if we include insecticide, ought to wipe out all the aphids and give us a little bit of residual control on controlling aphids in our wheat, because aphids are a big spreader of barley yellow leaf dwarf virus, which we don't want, which could definitely negatively impact yields. So definitely want to wipe them out as we're warming up a little bit here in January. We'll have a few more warm spells before spring finally gets here. And anytime you get any of these warm spells, these aphids can flare up and feed on the wheat and spread the disease. And once you get the disease, there's no getting rid of it. There's no product you can put out there to kill the barley yellow dwarf virus. So we definitely got to make sure we keep it controlled before it before the wheat ever gets infected. Yeah, definitely make sure you get some gloves, because you get that lambdicide on you, you're going to burn for about 24 hours.
I drove from the nitrogen and burned from the lambda.
Well, we done made our first lap around the field, and lo and behold, everything's working fine, no leaks. Everything's working good. That's always a worry when you go to this field for the first time of the year. Even though things might have been working fine whenever you parked it, that don't always mean everything's working fine when you bring it out of the shed. I mean, we haven't even had a chance to even service this sprayer yet. It needs an oil change, needs oil in the hubs changed and filters changed, but you know, just a couple hours we're going to run it here, fertilizing our wheat. Not going to do it any damage, but we definitely need to run it through the shop. Nothing really needs fixing on it. Maybe a few spots of paint need touching up. They got one or two hydraulic hoses I really want to change because they're looking kind of ragged, but everything's good, doing good. However, it's still really wet out here, and we gave it as long as we could to let it dry up, but we got more rain predicted to come in Saturday. You know, this time of year it takes fields a long time to dry up, and what's really causing the problems is all that, I mean, the 0-degree weather we had, the snow we had, you know, whenever the ground freezes, it loosens it up, and then when it thaws back out, I mean, it's just slop. It takes forever to dry out, and that's kind of what we're seeing. It's been drying a good 4.5 days. But man, I wish we could give this stuff another day or two. It's not rutting it up, but it is definitely leaving some cleating marks through the wheat. And then the wetter spots of the field, I mean, they're just plumb muddy, and I'm having to kind of go around them. Of course, if there's still water's kind of standing in those areas, it's not going to make wheat anyway, so really no sense in even applying fertilizer to it. But I tell you what, it sure does feel good to get back in the cab again. But overall, looking at our wheat crop out here, and in general, I'm pretty happy with it. I'd say about 75% of it looks really good. Then you can kind of see my tracks down here in that wet area. I mean, it's real thin. Of course, I know that's never going to make much wheat anyway. But kind of around the edges of the field, next to the tree lines and everything, we kind of got a thin stand. But that's just a result of us having to plant so late. And I planted my seed just a little too deep. Took forever to come up. If I'd shallowed it up another 1/4 inch, I think we would have gotten a lot better stand around the edges. Just planting that mid-November time frame, it's definitely not ideal. And you know, once those soil temps really cool off, even a cool weather crop like wheat, it takes it a while to come on up. And if it takes too long to come on up, it's not going to come up, and that's kind of what we saw this year. So really wish I'd set that seed depth just a little bit shallower, even if it mean leaving a few more seed on top of the ground. I think overall we would have had a better stand, especially around the edges. But overall, I'd say about 75% of our wheat looks really good. 20% is kind of that, you know, marginal, and then 5%, you know, the wet spots. We see that every year anyway. But anyway, this nitrogen application for us is super critical, especially as small as our wheat is. You know, we really need to encourage it to tiller out as much as possible before it starts growing vertically. And when I talk about a tiller, what I mean is each seed of wheat, you know, produces one plant. And it's got a primary tiller, which is the primary stalk, and each stalk produces one head. Wheat has the ability to compensate and produce out additional tillers from the same plant, and the more tillers you have, the more heads of wheat you have. The more heads of wheat you have, the higher your yield is. So anyway, there's a kind of a fine line where you got too many heads of wheat and the stalks get weak and it can lodge on you late season and you lose yield, but you definitely want it thick enough to where you're maximizing your yield potential. And right now, if we don't get this fertilizer on, the wheat's hungry, a lot of those additional tillers might be dying, and then we result with a thin stand of wheat with not a whole lot of heads per acre. So you know, if we don't get it on now, you know, that's another possibly week to 2 weeks that the wheat's actively growing, but it's being hungry and it's losing tillers. So we want to stimulate that wheat plant to grow vigorously and set those additional tillers to where we can have those heads of wheat there at harvest. Anyway, what we're applying is 28004 UAN. It's 28% nitrogen. Got about 3 pounds of nitrogen per gallon, and we're applying 17 gallons per acre. Our wheat scout scouted this yesterday. He was recommending 15 gallons per acre, but if you remember the last couple of years I talked about how our wheat yields just were not quite what I expected, and when we were harvesting it looked like it was a little thin, like we had lost some tillers. So we bumped his recommendation up another 2 gallons per acre, gives another 6 units of nitrogen, a little bit more sulfur, just to try and set a few more tillers out here, thicken it up to where hopefully we can get those yields up there to where we really like them, which would be like 85 bushels and above. Don't know if it'll work. You know, we might potentially, you know, lose a lot of this nitrogen that we're applying because the wheat's small. It's not using a whole lot, and if we get a whole lot of heavy rain between now and when the wheat plant actually needs a lot of this nitrogen, then you know, we could potentially lose nitrogen through leaching in the groundwater. But we don't know what the weather's going to be the next few months, but we do know that if we don't have the nitrogen out here for the wheat plant to use when it wants it, then we know we're definitely going to be suffering, you know, yield loss then. But anyway, it's late in the day when we're starting. We had the West Tennessee Grain Conference to go to this morning. Andy had that last load of beans to haul off, and we're going to try and, I'd like to try and get about 150 acres covered today. They'll leave us with about 350 acres to cover tomorrow before the rain hits on Saturday, and then you know, as long as we don't have any problems, that shouldn't be an issue. And now we done got this truck polished, and you got the interior looking good. I don't even want to use it.
I know, it's too nice to take it to the field now.
Yeah, I just want to leave it here as a showpiece.
It's gonna be a crazy day for that combine too. Getting soybeans and stuff. It's gonna be sad.
They're gonna hurt my feelings. I need some sunglasses, all that sun reflecting off the hood there. Well, the field's definitely soft and a little muddy, but we didn't kick very much up on the sprayer. It just sank down a little bit in some places. So overall, considering what the ground looked like about 4 to 5 days ago, I'm pretty happy with the results. Well, we did wind up getting, you know, our about 155 acres done last night before we quit. So that'll leave us with a pretty reasonable 350 acres or so to get done today. Definitely shouldn't have to run at night to get done. If you look right out there, you can see that wheat a whole lot better, that low morning light reflecting off of it. Overall, what I saw yesterday, I'm pretty happy with. Or you can see, like right there, you know, we got places like that that's drowned out, just normal wet spots, which you don't expect those to make anyway. But overall, when I was saying yesterday, like around the edges, just look kind of like a little thin. Those places are few and far between so far. Overall, I think we've got the potential for a good wheat crop. I don't know about a record crop. A lot depends on the weather between now and harvest, but I think the potential is definitely there to have at least as good crop as last year, maybe potentially a little bit better. Yeah, even though the yield prospects for wheat, you know, are definitely still there, the profit potential is definitely not looking like what it was last year. The prices of wheat, well, heck, the prices of all the grain commodities they're heading in the wrong direction. You know, right now wheat's trading at about $6 a bushel, you know, compared to last year's average price of almost $8 a bushel. There's definitely still a real good chance we make profit on wheat, but considering the cost of inputs, it's definitely going to be a little bit more difficult. You know, this fertilizer spraying 28004, while it's come down a little bit off of recent years, it's still relatively high compared to historical values. You know, it seems like I think all of our chemicals are ticking up a little bit again this year. It's just, you know, I know Dylan Joyce said it on his live stream a month ago or so, but you know, this is going to be one of those years that you really need to tighten your belts and really pay attention to every input. And at the Cotton and Rice Conference I attended this last week, one of the presentators was saying this is definitely not a year for luxury inputs, and I'd have to agree 100%. This is going to be a year for tried and true agronomic methods, not a year to be swinging for the fences. You know, use the stuff that has been proven to contribute positively to yield, and all this other stuff that's a lot riskier on whether it actually helps or not, usually a little bit higher priced. You know, definitely avoid those. And out of the 4 crops that we farm, you know, corn is definitely, well, based on last year, you know, it's our highest cost input crop. and it's the one that's showing the least potential for profit. So we're going to cut back just a little bit on corn acres. I think there's probably going to be some management changes a little bit on corn this year. Definitely not going to be shooting for maximum yield. I'm going to be shooting for profitable yields. So whenever I get to create my fertilizer prescriptions for this coming up year, definitely going to take a hard look at fertilizer rates, because that's going to be the biggest driver in cost on corn. I think we cut back on seeding rates just slightly, because corn seeds, it's done gone through the roof. Soybeans, seeds going up on it, not near what corn is, but it's going up some. I think we're going to try some reduced seeding rates on soybeans. Really not much else we can cut out from our soybean program. It's pretty much bare minimum as it is, and just like looking at last year, we made real good profit on it. And then of course the wild card every year is going to be cotton. There's not really a lot of inputs you can cut back on them. We're going to cut back just a little bit on fertilizer, nitrogen this year, save a few extra dollars. But as far as other things like herbicides and insecticides, you start cutting back on those and you're going to lose yield in a hurry. Bottom line is, there is hope for this year to make a profit, but definitely not looking like the profit potential from last year. And we really need to be mindful of our costs, and not only our input costs, but overhead costs are about half of the cost on this farm. So really going to have to be careful repair and maintenance and other things we purchase. We can't just we're going to have to examine every single purchase and determine if it's something we really need, or if possibly we can do without. Alright, I got a pretty big change to show you on our farm up here. Just last year, all of this right here was woods. We had a big neck of woods coming out in the field, and after the year, the landlord decided he needed to spend some money and suggested getting this cleared up. And this is already a pretty big field, but now it's going to be even much more easier to farm, because now instead of having to drive around this grove and having rows butt up to it and a bunch of short passes, now we can just have our rows going straight that way. And then there was also another neck of trees coming out in the field right over the top of this hill, and just stuff like that really slows us down on working the field, because you're always turning around. Now, instead of having 3 separate passes to make on this field, we're just going to have one pass to make on this part of the field, which is really going to speed it up. And I was kind of a little worried about erosion, with it just being cleared and then having rain all winter long, but they graded it off nicely, and so far it's looking real good. And we got a pipe down here to catch the water, and all the stuff piled up right over here on the side of the levee where it was already eroding away, so I ought to stop that too. Anyway, it's always real nice to have landlords that are really interested in their farms and willing to make improvements. And it'll take a few years to see money back from what he spent on this, but over the course of time it definitely will. Not only the probably 2 extra acres that we took in, but also higher yields, because we don't have as many inrows. That means we're not turning around as much, we're not running over crop, and we're not damaging as much crop, which will help raise the yield. You wouldn't believe how much small improvements like this on a farm really increase the productivity and also the efficiency of us working the ground. All right, we moved on along pretty good today. We got about 80 acres left, but I've got to cut out. I've got a charity event to work up in Martin this weekend that I've got to get to, so I'm gonna turn it on over to Andy. He can finish it up. Shouldn't take him too awful long. Hopefully be done right about dark, maybe a little bit before. So that's gonna be it for the field work for a little while. I got something to show you back at the office though before we end this video. So I got a cutout. You think you can get the rest of it wrapped up?
I believe so. How much is left on this one?
We got about 33 acres left on this farm, 33 on the one across the road, and then 13 on 317 last one. So about a load and a third or so should get you. But yeah, I got 33 on this one and then 13 on the last one. Don't forget about that little field across the creek.
I'm gonna try my best to not forget it this time. I know I've forgotten it 100 times now.
All right. And when you get done, just leave it parked outside. That rain this weekend can rinse some of that nitrogen off.
Okay.
All right, then come on in Monday morning. Imagine we're gonna get on servicing and fixing stuff in the shop.
Taking out some of those filters that are laughing at me.
Yeah.
All right.
All right, back here at the gym, want to show you a piece of equipment we finally got back. Yeah, I know y'all not too excited about me getting forklift back, but let me tell you, I'm excited about getting it back. We sent this thing off last September at the beginning of harvest to have it overhauled. It was burning antifreeze, just wasn't running good, and knew the engine was slap wore out, and it turned out it had a blown head gasket. The head and stuff needed to be milled down, so I went ahead and had the shop pull it out, send it off to have a complete overhaul, because the engine in this one is not supported by CAT anymore, and had to find an aftermarket rebuilder that was willing to rebuild it. And anyway, they completely gutted it and overhauled the whole engine top to bottom. And actually the shop got the engine back like mid-December, installed the engine, and it had a knock in it. So the rebuilder did something wrong. They had to take it back out, send it back off again. And anyway, we just finally got this forklift back yesterday, which is February 1st. Now, we were able to manage without it pretty well, throughout harvest. There's really not a whole lot of lifting we need to do. And what little lifting we did have to do, we used our old forklift mast that mounts on the back of, on the 3-point hitch on a tractor. But that thing's definitely not near as convenient as this. And anyway, not only do we have the engine done, while it was over there, I was like, if we're gonna overhaul the engine, we're gonna have everything fixed on this thing. Wait, I ain't gotta worry about it no more. All the tie rods in the steering system, replaced those because they was slap wore out. I think we had a leaking brake cylinder on one side. Forklift mast was leaking, not bad in anything. New chains. What else did they do? I know they did some other stuff, but anyway, this thing is in tip-top condition. And not only do we have all that done, if you notice right here, we got a brand new third lever. Yes, that's right. We had a side shift put on it, something I've been wanting for a while. This thing originally had a side shift on it because all the brackets and the piping was there for the side shift, but someone had taken it off before I owned it. So anyway, put a side shift on there, really makes loading these totes and everything a whole lot easier. And let me tell you, this thing purrs like a kitten. I didn't think that this thing could sound as good as it does. Oh man, she sounds so new. And I know a lot of y'all gonna say, well, yeah, no crap, your engine's about to blow up. Did you hear it knocking real bad? That knocking that you hear on my previous videos, that was nothing to do on the engine internals. It was the engine fan. When I had to replace the bearings and everything like a year and a half ago, something wasn't lined up quite right, and that plastic fan blade was just barely nicking on the head of a bolt in there, and that's what was actually making the racket. It wasn't actually anything inside the engine itself. Man, don't she, ain't she just purring? I'm so excited. But anyway, big question is, what did all this cost us? It cost me about twice what I paid for this forklift. It cost me over 15 grand to have all this done, but you know what, when deciding on whether to have this done or not, or just buy another one, I started looking at forklifts, and yeah, I could get a forklift smaller than this, but real old, heavily well used for somewhere in the $5,000 to $7,000 range. And I got thinking, I've got a good forklift here. What's 15 grand going to buy me as far as forklifts? Definitely not anything new, because brand new forklifts are a little over $50,000 in this size. You got thinking, well, now what can 15 grand get me? Another machine kind of like this that may or may not last long, that I might have to sink a bunch more money into it. So if I'm gonna spend that kind of money, I might as well repair this one, and then I don't have to worry about it. I know it's gonna be in fantastic shape and probably not gonna have to put a dime into it for a good long time with how little we use it. So we did actually bid on another forklift that was up for a silent bid auction. It actually had front duals. It was a lighter rated forklift, but it was a diesel powered, which, you know, I'm not a huge fan of the propane because it seemed like we're always having to run and fill up propane tanks, but it was a diesel powered, real good shape, looked like. Anyway, like I said, it was a sealed bid, so my bid wasn't quite high enough to get it. Heck, I'm about as excited to have a great running forklift as I am to have that new Dodge 2500 out there. I'm really excited.
What?
How come you ain't got it clean yet?
You're funny, because we have half of River Road all on our... This is ridiculous.
Yeah, old hot water washer is not cutting the mustard.
Nothing.
Ain't cutting the ground.
Look how bad it. I mean, like.
Yeah, I've never seen I've never seen this truck this dirty and not able to come clean.
You need to look at this side, and I've spent literally 2 hours on this side. Then go on that side and go compare it. Seriously, go on that side and look.
I know, I saw it when I drove by. Oh, great. The bicycle ride is already out.
Like, you gotta look at it from here.
Yes, Kelly, I know it's leaning towards the driver's side.
Is it because the hood is up higher than that side?
No, I honestly,
or
I
you
don't
think
know.
It's like a strut that's gone bad?
Well, I looked at the springs and everything. The springs on it's fine. I mean, one side might be getting a little bit weaker, but no springs on it are broken or anything. So
I don't know, but it needs to go. And then I found a whole bunch of stuff. Stuff's leaking and something ain't right on that side.
There's a power steering hose that's seeping a little bit. No big deal.
Oh, she's got some miles on her, and she's got a broken tooth. See her tooth broken? Look.
Yeah, that's been broken.
She got broke too. You should see underneath there. It's even worse.
I'm sure. I mean, the grime is literally just
Disgusting.
caked
I don't think I've ever
on.
seen her. I don't think I've seen my baby girl this bad before.
we know why there's potholes on Great River Road now, because all the gravel and dust is stuck to the truck.
You should have seen it. I posted on Facebook. I was like, hey, Dyer County, come get your River Road. It's all on my truck. Not a bad day to wash some equipment. So Andy is sick at home, I think with the stomach virus. So Matt and I got a lot of errands done today. I came back and went back to washing on the old girl. Chemical that Matt got is really doing well, but we're out of it, so my focus is to just try and get this grime off as much as I can, and then when that stuff comes in, we'll go back over. I'm sure he can tell you what the name of it is, but I don't remember. I mean, but look at that. Really takes care of it, so let's get up here and get this done while we still got sun and it's semi-warm. So after a couple of hours of scrubbing, look at this. Isn't she pretty? Oh yeah, it's nice. Getting all the grime off of it, even got down up underneath here. Look at all that. That is just, still got a bunch more to do on that side over there. But got up underneath there, look at all this. So to everyone who thinks I just sit around all winter, that would be a no. To get this grime off of here, which, man, I really tried and it's just not coming off.
So anyway, guys, we showed us in the field and showed what's going on around the farm right now. So we'll wrap it up now. Appreciate y'all watching. We'll see you in the next one.